You.
Madison, I'm co-president of Spectrum, the LGBT organization on campus.
Great.
Love to talk to you about this.
Great. Thank you, Madison.
Yeah, I would have got up as soon as she said that. As soon as she said that, I would have been like, uh-oh.
My name's Steven.
Okay.
I appreciate it, you sitting down. And what is it that you disagree with?
So I think you're confused on the idea of gender versus sex.
I'm confused, okay?
Yeah, okay. So when we say there are only two genders, we often confuse the idea of gender and sex.
Sure.
Sex is a generalization of XY chromosomes, so we assume that, or, XY, XX, combination of chromosomes. So we assume that, male and female comes from your chromosomes, right? But that's really just the idea that there's only two possibilities of sex, right? So even within sex itself, you can be born intersex, which means that you're born with sexual characteristics of both what we would consider male and female. And then you have gender, and gender is more about a mental state based off of societal norms. So within our Western society, we often discuss gender as being binary, meaning that there's two options.
Sure.
So boy, girl, man, woman. However, in other societies, non-Western societies, there are more than two options.
Okay, can I ask you a couple questions there to unpack? Appreciate you taking the time, by the way. So what was your name?
Madison.
Madison. So let's go to the sex concept before gender, I think, because the idea of gender being different from sex is predicated on the idea that sex is binary. That's where you mentioned that term, gender binary. So you mentioned intersex. Okay, I'm aware of intersex. Now, of course, intersex doesn't necessarily mean that someone is completely between sexes. Usually they have very identifiable characteristics, like a very large clitoris or micro penis. In that case, it also affects 0.08. People think this is funny, it's just true. Less than 0.08% of population Earth. But they still exist. Let me ask you this. In human anatomy class, how many fingers are you taught human beings have?
We're told typically that people have 10. However, there are people born with 11
But you're
fingers.
taught 10, right?
Yeah.
So we don't teach people there are people born with 11 fingers, there are people born with 12 fingers.
Yeah, but we don't completely dismiss that those people exist just because that they're uncommon, do we?
We teach that human beings have 10 fingers. I would wager that everyone here has been taught, yeah, human beings.
She like, See, even if you make a point, they're not going to even agree with that point. It's like, if you can agree with me on this one little thing, it doesn't destroy your whole argument. But you so consumed with winning a debate that doesn't really mean anything. It's like, this debate ain't going to affect the rest of your life. Like, you can't agree with just one little thing. We can't find. This is why these arguments are always happening, because people can't even agree on the little things. Just some common ground to help find understanding. And I was about to say she, but I don't want to misgender this person. So anyway, let's continue.
Have 10 fingers, of course there are anomalies. That's the same way that we treat intersex, or these, as you said, you mentioned chromosomes, genetic abnormalities that are a very extreme case. So I think what we need to do is remove this extreme case with sex, just as we would with how many fingers, toes, how many kidneys you have, how many feet you have. There's something that's typical, there's something that's atypical. Then you go to gender. This is where, listen, I'm open. Everyone has said sex is different from gender, and gender is not non-binary. So I would allow you to kind of unpack that for me.
Yeah, so in Western society at least, so in our country, in our society, we tend to think of gender to be on this binary spectrum of well, not even really a spectrum, just a binary. So you have man, woman, and that's it. Those are the only two options. However, gender really is more of a spectrum. So it's non-binary. There are not just two options.
Okay.
You have man, woman, and then everything that doesn't fit into just man and woman is considered non-binary. That's an umbrella term, and that includes a lot of different categorizations.
So how many genders are there?
You can't put a number on the number of genders because everyone uses different words to classify themselves.
I would disagree. That's where it changed my mind. I'm not convinced that anyone can just use any classification for themselves for their gender, and certainly not that then we have to compel society to address them this way. Right, I'm sure you can understand that the compelling of language is an issue.
So what gender do you think you are?
Well, I'm a male.
Okay, well I think you're a woman.
No, legally I'm a male.
Oh,
it says on my driver's license that I'm a male.
Okay, so that's your sex.
No, it's yeah, I'm also a male.
That's your sex.
It says on my carrier certificate that I'm a male. Gender. Some legal documentation say gender.
What if I say I don't believe you?
It doesn't matter.
Exactly, it doesn't matter if you don't believe me.
No, it doesn't matter because biologically.
What gender do you think I am?
I would assume you're female.
Yeah, so you're making assumptions.
Yes.
I identify as non-binary.
I don't, respectfully, it doesn't matter.
It does matter.
Now,
actually.
let me ask you this. What would you say if
It matters what pronouns you use for me. It matters how I'm socialized in society. It matters my gender expression. It matters the way that I'm allowed to express myself. It matters what bathroom I use. It matters who I'm allowed to live with. It affects every aspect of my life. So you saying
What pronoun should I use?
You should use they them pronouns. So you saying that you
And
don't
what if I
believe
don't?
me.
What if I don't?
If you don't, I would consider that disrespectful, and that's actually an act of violence to misgender a trans
It's an
person,
act of
or-
violence.
That is an act of violence to intentionally misgender someone. Yes.
Here we come to the issue, and this is why I'm out here. You just said that's an act of violence. That means it's
Yes.
an actionable offense. That means it's a crime. So you believe that for
I didn't
me,
say it's a crime. I said it's an act of violence.
act of
There's a lot
violence.
of things that are not considered crimes that are acts of violence.
Okay, see, this is the part that I'm struggling with, right? I can understand if you say, okay, sex and gender, they're separate. Cool. What are the sex? Well, we're humans. You have male and you have female. But I'll go with you down this road. Okay, so you say, okay, I am sex, male, but gender, female. But this is the part that's I'm struggling with, right? Because you do have like intersex and stuff like that. So when you sit there and you say, okay, there's more than 2 genders, and then you'll ask these people, well, how many genders are there? Oh, well, we can't put a number on it. That's confusing to me. You could at least name 4, name 5 of them, right? Because even if you make the argument that sex and gender are separate and different, I can go along with that. That could be, we can meet in the middle there, right? However, if you say there's more than 2, what would there be? Because if you say my gender is I identify, like I was watching this TikTok video, right? And there was a trans person on there, and they said, well, my new pronouns are fae and faux, right? So they were trying to say that they were, I guess, a fairy, right? And but that's not another gender. You're then saying that what you're saying is you're a whole nother species. So I'm trying to understand. The only thing that you could identify outside of male or female is another species. If I sit here and say I identify as a leopard, that's not there being more genders. I'm identifying as an animal. So, I mean, as far as human is concerned, how could there be more than 2 genders? I could say maybe 3, right? Because you could say, okay, you got male gender, you got female gender, and then you got a person that feels like they're male and female. So that'd be the 3rd gender, right? Or you could have that 4th gender be somebody that doesn't identify as male or female. They just like, they just like neutral. Like they don't want to be male or female. They just a human. They just existence. Cool. I can meet you in the middle there. But how do you go and say there's more than that, but you can't name them? And the things that I've seen one person, they identify as a cat or whatever. I think like a leopard. They got the tattoos. They got their teeth done and everything. But that's not another gender. That's another species. Right? Or am I looking at it wrong? I don't know. Please, somebody with a better understanding than me, because I'm not that intelligent, to be honest with you. I'm just brainstorming right now.